So, this lesson is going to involve kitchen safety and how not to hurt yourself or anybody else in the kitchen. We are going to be dealing with a lot of situations that could become dangerous. So, we're going to talk about falls, burns, cuts, pulling or straining a muscle, shock, electrocution, poisoning, or choking. So, in the workplace, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, also known as OSHA, they make sure that and document that every workplace is a safe environment. So this is a federal agency. They create and enforce safety in the workplace. So employers are required by law to inform the employee of the job safety and the health protection provided. One of the biggest issues that you're going to have in the kitchen is preventing fires. So it's really important to know and understand how to put out small fires in the kitchen because they are going to happen. They happen every year, they happen quickly, but as long as you remain calm, then you're not going to have a serious event. If you don't remain calm and if you do the wrong thing, you could end up with a really serious fire. So, more than likely, you're going to have a small pan fire. And a small pan fire is a fire that occurs in the pan. This is generally because the oil in the pan got too hot and it ignited. The best way to put out a small pan fire is to use a lid to smother the flame. You don't ever pick up or move that pan. If you pick it up and move it, you're likely to fling the oil and the fire onto another person or elsewhere in the kitchen. You never, ever, ever use water to put out a fire in a pan or on the stove. The grease fire is the most common, and this occurs when the pan got too hot and people added oil or the oil in the pan got too hot. So use a lid or a cookie sheet that'll fit tight. You can also use baking soda to put out the fire, but you generally want to reserve that for when it's on the stove or under or in the burner and you can't put a lid on it. So a lid is always going to be the number one way. You never ever use water or flour to make that'll just fuel it and make it larger. There's a short video that you're going to watch that shows what happens when you put water on a grease fire. If you have loose clothing, your clothing could catch on fire, and you want to practice the stop, drop, and roll method. We also have fire extinguishers in the lab, and I have them in my kitchen as well. You always want to make sure that you have the fire extinguisher handy. It is very easy to find in the lab. It is on the back wall, in the corner on the shelf, and they are big and they are bold. We have a regular fire extinguisher, the Class A. That would be if you have a fire that is paper or in a trash can. And then we also have a Class B, which is designed for grease fires. But you really only want to get that fire extinguisher out if you can't put that fire out with the lid. So Class A is your ordinary paper, wood. Class B is going to be for flammable liquids like gas or grease. And then C is for electrical equipment. If your mixer or a toaster or a blender is on fire and that object is plugged in, then you need to make sure that you use the special one there. We do not have a C or a D in the lab. We only have an A and a B. That's the most common fires that we're going to run into. So to put out a fire, you take the fire extinguisher and you use the pass method. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger, and then sweep from side to side. That is how you use a fire extinguisher, and that is how they work. So the most common fire is going to be the grease fire. It must be smothered. You must use baking soda or a lid. Do not move the pan and do not put water on the grease fire. And this video here is going to show you what happens if you put water on the grease fire.